Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Politics here at The Hindu with me, Nistula Hebbar, where we unpack the news making the headlines in domestic politics. This week was action-packed as far as domestic politics is concerned, what with poll strategist Prashant Kishore's announcement that he would be undertaking a 3,000-kilometer Padyatra from October 2nd in Bihar to finalize the agenda of his political outfit aiming at Jan Suraj or people's good governance. There was also a fiery exchange between Home Minister Amit Shah and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, as the former is on a trip of West Bengal, and the first anniversary of the third Mamata Banerjee term as Chief Minister. Mr. Shah promised that the Citizenship Amendment Act, which is quite contentious, especially in terms of minority rights in this country, and for which rules are yet to be framed, will be implemented. He was extremely categorical in that statement there. But the big story that we will be looking at this week is, however, the notification of the delimitation of Assembly and Lok Sabha seats for the newly created Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir after it lost statehood with the reading down of Article 370 in 2019, an exercise not without its share of controversy and political implications going ahead. The last delimitation exercise across the country started in July 2002 and was completed on May 31st, 2008. It was based on the 2001 census and only readjusted the boundaries of existing Lok Sabha and Assembly seats and reworked the number of reserved seats. The delimitation of Jammu and Kashmir's Lok Sabha seats is governed by the Indian Constitution, but delimitation of its Assembly seats till its special status was abrogated recently was governed separately by the Jammu and Kashmir Constitution and the Jammu and Kashmir Representation of Peoples Act 1957. As far as the delimitation of Lok Sabha seats is concerned, the last delimitation commission in 2002 was not entrusted with the task of delimiting seats, Lok Sabha seats in Jammu and Kashmir. Hence, the J&K parliamentary seats remained as delimited on the basis of the 1971 census, while the amendment of the 1976 of the Indian Constitution suspended delimitation in the rest of the country till 2001. No corresponding amendment was made to the J&K Constitution along with that. Therefore, unlike the rest of the country, the assembly seats of J&K were delimited based on the 1981 census, which formed the basis of state elections there in 1996. Now, this is a backgrounder on the delimitation exercises till now about the rest of the country and vis-a-vis Jammu and Kashmir. There was no census in 1991 in Jammu and Kashmir, unlike the rest of the country, and therefore no delimitation commission was set up by the state government after the 2001 census, as the J&K Assembly passed a law putting a freeze on fresh delimitation until 2026. This freeze was upheld by the Supreme Court. Now, what happened after that, the freeze, which was upheld by the Supreme Court, was reversed by the Government of India. Quite simply, the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act, which was introduced in Parliament on August 5th, 2019, basically it read down Article 370 of the Constitution, stripping Jammu and Kashmir of its special status, basically bifurcating the state into Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir union territories. Ladakh would be a union territory without an assembly, and Jammu and Kashmir would be a union territory with an assembly. Now you have carved out Ladakh from the larger Jammu and Kashmir erstwhile state. So what do? Then you amalgamate Jammu and Kashmir, where all the laws under the Indian Constitution is applicable in that state. There is no separate constitution of Jammu and Kashmir anymore, and therefore the delimitation exercise has to be done because a new assembly has to be constituted in that union territory. So the Government of India set up a delimitation commission, which was led by Justice Ranjana Desai. It had two ex-officio members, current Chief Election Commissioner of India, Sushil Chandra, and State Chief Election Commissioner, K.K. Sharma. All five Lok Sabha MPs from J&K, National Conferences, Farooq Abdullah, Akbar Lone, and Hasnain Masoodi, as well as BJP's Jitendra Singh and Jugal Kishore, were members of this commission. The 5 politicians were associate members of this delimitation commission. So basically, what happened yesterday, and the report that was submitted and notified and has now appeared in the Gazette of India. What does that recommend as far as the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly is concerned? Overall, the recommendations say the J&K Union Territory Assembly is to have 90 seats, with 43 seats in Jammu and 47 in the Kashmir Valley. It's a 7-seat increase overall from the previous situation of 83 seats for the in all these areas. So for the first time, reservations for scheduled tribes were done for assembly seats in Jammu and Kashmir. 9 seats have been given to scheduled tribe communities for them to exclusively contest from there, out of which 3 are in Kashmir Valley and 6 are in Jammu. Basically, an addition of 6 assembly seats to Jammu from 37 before to 43 now, and 1 to the Kashmir Valley from 46 before to 47 now. This closes substantially the gap between Jammu and the Kashmir Valley, where Jammu has had 9 seats less earlier than the Valley. It has now 4 seats short of the Valley. This has important political ramifications. Basically, the Delimitation Commission, in its terms, references, etc., was told to not just keep the population of a particular area in mind, which is the primary basis of delimitation of seats in the rest of the country, but also to look at geographical features and access. So what this has done is it has given Jammu an edge in terms of increasing the number of seats in that area vis-a-vis the Kashmir Valley. This has been opposed by Valley politicians, but more of that later. The second suggestion, which was not made in the delimitation order, but in a statement by the Commission after it submitted its report, was that the government could consider nominating 2 members from the Kashmiri migrant community to the Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory Assembly. In the delimitation of Lok Sabha seats, an equal number of assembly seats, 18 per Lok Sabha seats, have been done. The number of Lok Sabha seats remains at 5, but each of these 5 Lok Sabha seats will have 18 assembly seats, which was not the case earlier. Interestingly, regional distinction between Jammu and the Valley, as I have said before, has also been removed, as seen by the combining of the Anantnag district in the Valley with some areas of Rajouri and Poonch in Jammu to carve out the Anantnag-Rajouri parliamentary constituency. There has been some renaming of constituencies, including one named after Mata Vaishno Devi, the reigning deity at the Mata Vaishno Devi shrine in Jammu. Now, what are the political implications of this delimitation exercise? A lot of the Valley's mainstream politicians have been very, very sharp in their criticism of the conduct of the delimitation exercise, the way it has been conducted, and the very fact that not population, but along with population, geographical area and access has been taken as criteria for delineating these seats. This, Valley politicians said, gave an undue advantage to Jammu. So basically, in terms of numbers, this is what they are saying. They're saying that the fact that Jammu region got more seats out of the 7 new seats that have been carved out has been despite the fact that according to the census of 2011, Jammu, with a population of 44%, will get 48% of the seats, while the Valley, with 56% of the population, will get around 52% of the seats. PDP chief, People's Democratic Party chief, and former chief minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mehbooba Mufti, had said that not keeping population as the main criteria for delimitation has made the exercise untrustworthy to her and her party. The large number of seats in Jammu, with a significant proportion of Hindu voters, unlike in the Valley, is being seen as a way in which the BJP could play a very dominant role in the coming years in Jammu and Kashmir politics. That if the BJP wins a good number of seats in Hindu areas, Hindu-dominated areas in Jammu, it could emerge as the single largest party in Jammu and Kashmir, something valley-based parties are wary of because there are several other competitive parties within the valley competing for the same votes. Now, the 6 new assembly constituencies in Jammu have also been carved out of areas where valley politicians say there is a predominant Hindu population, while the only new seat in the valley is in the Kupwara district. Adding areas of Poonch and Rajouri from Jammu and Anantnag is basically an illustrative example of what valley politicians are saying about this delimitation exercise. Basically, they are saying that Poonch and Rajouri were areas where the BJP always used to trail because they were earlier part of the Jammu parliamentary seat. But these were assembly segments where BJP used to trail. That has been carved out of the Jammu parliamentary seat, added to Anantnag, which is from the valley, and therefore removed some problematic aspects from the Jammu parliamentary seat. Now, these are some little things that have been talked about. Basically, as said earlier, mainstream political parties in the valley have been opposing the recommendations of the Delimitation Commission. Mehbooba Mufti, as I said earlier, has alleged that the exercise was an extension of the intent behind reading down of Article 370, according to her. Now, here I am quoting her, open quotes, to disempower a particular community and religion, the government of India has misused independent institutions to turn an electoral majority into a minority by using geography and access as a ruse. The delimitation report has been published in the Gazette of India on Thursday and may soon see the holding of assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir. If you recall, I had done an episode on the all-party meeting that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had called last year, all-party meeting of mainstream parties in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, and had spoken to them about and had appealed to them that they should participate in the democratic exercise there. They should participate in the Delimitation Commission's work, helping delineate assembly constituencies and ultimately helping and participating in assembly elections whenever they are held in Jammu and Kashmir. And that this was going to be a necessary condition for the restoration of full statehood for Jammu and Kashmir. Well, the political implications being what they are, it would be telling on how the election exercise goes. As of now, some parties have said that they will contest the assembly elections. Many parties which boycotted previous panchayat elections have regretted that they had done that, because that meant that they were completely out of the political process in the valley. Therefore, the government is hoping that whatever the misgivings parties may have about the delimitation exercise, they will participate in the elections, in the democratic process of electing a government for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Well, let's see how that goes. But this is all I have for you this week. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.